Hi, everyone. Welcome. So glad you can join us for this talk today. Patty and I decided to come on and share about our personal journeys recovering from Candida and leaky gut because, boy, it was a long one. It was a big one, right? As soon as you figure out you have Candida and you start unpacking all the things that it takes to heal, it can be confusing. And that's why we're here today to share our stories, how we became the health coaches here at Candida Cleanser, and then also giving out tips of how to start healing now. What are the two biggest mistakes people make when trying to heal from Candida? And then we'll go into the 45-day healing protocol that myself and Patty use to transform our lives, and also what we use with our clients in our 8-week coaching program to help them reverse all sorts of lifelong chronic conditions. So I'm so glad you could be here with us today. So I'm Aga, and this is Patty.
Hi, everybody. It's so good to be here. Thanks for watching all of our videos, and just know that you are not alone on this journey. For sure, you are not alone. So who should start first, Aga?
I like your story. I feel like you were almost like you call yourself the poster child of Candida Cleanser sometimes because your story is so incredible. You know, Patty, she was one of those who was a client first and was just really um, basically on her deathbed. And it was her desperate cry out for help, reaching out to Candida Cleanser. So
Yeah. So basically in 2013, between 2011 and 2013, my health was on like a really scary rapid decline. And in 2013, I started to have just this debilitating pain. I thought I was dying. I could not function. I got to the point where I could barely function. I could barely function for most of the day. I slept most of the day. I would wake up and I would just already be like, oh, I felt like I got hit by a truck. But it was also these symptoms that um, I spoke to a practitioner friend, and they said it sounds a lot like endometriosis. And I, of course, got on the internet and was like, what are treatments for endometriosis? And the only thing was pain management, or they literally will remove your uterus if it gets that bad and give you a hysterectomy. And I was just like, well, one, I'm terrified of getting on any kind of pharmaceutical pain medication. I already felt really out of control with my food addictions, and I kind of had struggled with food addiction for a little while, and just feeling out of control because, you know, for some years I spent acting, and you want to try to stay fit as an actor, but then I was still addicted to certain foods and I started to gain weight, and it was just this always kind of a battle. So, you know, in after about 6 months of these symptoms, and they were so bad that it was like I couldn't even walk. I couldn't even stand up straight. I was like hunched over in pain, walking to the bathroom, hobbling to the bathroom, and breaking out in cold sweats just trying to go to the bathroom because I was in so much pain. And I saw this ad on Facebook for Candida Cleanser. And when I saw that ad for Candida Cleanser, I actually X'd it out like 5 or 6 times. I exited out 5 or 6 times because I was just like, ew. And I didn't think it was Candida, but then some puzzle pieces came together. I woke up in the morning, and I would basically wake up and I would be seeing blurry. It would just be blurry. And then I would rub my eyes and peel this goop out of my eyes, this like film out of my eyes. And then I would also feel these ridges in my insides of my cheek, and I kind of took my pinky nail and I went in there and I peeled out this film out of the inside of my cheeks. It literally made the sound of saran wrap coming off of itself on the roll, and it was like and I was like, ew, what is this? I'd put it in a tissue and throw it away and not think about it. And then one day I peeled that thing out in the morning and I almost threw it away, and I said, you know what, I'm just going to put it on a plate. Kind of gross, but I just kind of wanted to see what would happen. It was kind of white when I peeled it out of my cheek, but then when it dried, it turned into almost like a plastic. It was so hard, I couldn't even break it. it was long because the film just kind of became this little long stringy thing, and when it dried, it was like a yellowy hard plastic disc that I couldn't even break. And then I saw that ad one more time and I was like, maybe it's Candida. And I sent a message to the company. I was in such rough shape that I hadn't been working or making money. I was super broke, and I offered to do a before and after video. I got 5 people together who also had symptoms of Candida to do the cleanse, and we did a before and after. You can see it all here in YouTube. And lo and behold, at the end of 45 days, I was completely pain free, and I couldn't believe it. And that just set me on this journey of then figuring out how to heal my gut, because I had to figure out how to heal my gut. And that took about 2 years for me to actually heal my gut so I could stop reinfecting myself. And with that, I became also a coach working with Candida Cleanser, coaching people through the same process. And then now I'm also a certified holistic health coach, a yoga teacher. I mean, it gave me my life back so much that I was able to start pursuing things that I really wanted to pursue, and gave me the freedom and energy to do it all. So it's been a really rewarding journey. It's not an easy journey, it's a lot of work, and but the cleanse is such a powerful tool and kind of a shortcut to success, but you still have to make the proper adjustments. So, that's my story in a nutshell.
Yeah, thanks. No, you do mention how it takes a while to heal sometimes, and because Candida doesn't develop just overnight. It's not just like, oh, now I have Candida. It's accumulative. It's like it can date back to our mother's health. It can be affected of how we were born into this world. If it was a natural birth or a C-section, were you breastfed? Were you not breastfed? For myself, I was on antibiotics, I think just the first few months of my life. My mom doesn't even remember why, but I had to get these shots. And I remember so vividly as a young child, I was 2 or 3 years old, and like running away from this like weird nurse lady who would come to our house to give me shots for something. And when I asked my mom, she said, I don't know, you're just a sick baby. It was like ear infections, and the doctor said to give you these shots. And it just got worse from my young childhood to teenage years. It was just one infection after the other, strep throat for 4 months at a time, which was I was antibiotic resistant at one point. I remember being about like 8 years old, and the doctor is like prescribing me my 7th round of antibiotics, and she's like, if this doesn't get you, there's nothing else. Like I don't know what to do. And so it traveled from it's always been in my chest, or like my nasal passages, strep throat, bronchitis, ear infections, sinus infections. Then as I hit puberty, it was yeast infections, bladder infections, like 3 bladder infections a month. I would be drinking baking soda and cranberry juice like crazy just to like keep my um, urinary tract clean. But that's not the way to treat a fungal infection. But I didn't know I had a fungal infection, and then it started traveling to my kidneys, like into my deep visceral organs, causing hay fever. If I wasn't on antibiotics in the winter for 6 to 8 months, then I was on Claritin and Allegra. Then with puberty came endometriosis, like pain, chronic fatigue in my early 20s, um, almost like adrenal burnout. Oh, that was such a terrible time in my life where everything was hard. Every little tiny bits of stress would bring me to tears. It would crumble. The life was just overwhelming. I couldn't get up, and just brushing my teeth made me want to collapse and cry. Um, and To the point where I even developed almost like social anxiety and depression, and used alcohol for coping mechanisms, and getting on birth control didn't help. And it was like I was deteriorating from the inside out on so many levels, and I didn't really realize there was a different way of living. Our culture has normalized, you know, like dis-ease of the body, say being heavy after eating, or bloating, or acid reflux. It's like, oh yeah, that's normal. We have a drug for that. Got acid reflux? Here's the proton pump inhibitors, right? Oh, you have chronic headaches? That's okay. Here, have an Advil, have ibuprofen. It's like the our mainstream medical system has developed all these band-aid solutions for the symptoms of Candida, but they rarely address the root cause. And when you get to the root cause, like when I finally did my cleanse for the first time, I believe I was 22, I'm 29 now. It's as if like everything changed. All of a sudden, I didn't need antibiotics. I didn't even get sick in the winter. I can't even remember the last time I got strep throat. And allergies, haven't had allergies in, 8 years or so. It's incredible what can happen when you get to the root cause. And yeah, right after I did my first cleanse, the founder of the company was actually my brother, and I was like, oh my god, this transformed my life. I got to go study to teach health, to teach people about food. Food is medicine. Gut health, right? We don't have to settle for this life of dis-ease, right? And then I became the health coach. And I believe the time that you and me, Patty, when we first started the cleanse, it was advertised like, oh yeah, just take it. You don't have to change your diet. It'll kill candida. And it works like that, right? The lufeneron can kill candida no matter what you eat. But it'll come back if you continue eating your crap foods, if you continue living the way you did. So when I came in, it was like, we got to revamp this system. We got to educate people about what it takes to be healthy. You can't just pop another pill. Otherwise, this cleanse just becomes another band-aid solution.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And that's where, where we started to really work with the stages. And gosh, listening to you tell your story now, Aga, I realized I left so much out of my story. I left so much out. I had chronic allergies. Similarly, I was not breastfed. So things began as a baby. And so if you are on this journey, I really recommend that you dig into the resources that are on candidacleanser.com, that ebook, figure out your stage, because that's the piece that both Aga and I personally experienced and began to understand, is that no two people are exactly the same. And so it really helps to understand what stage you've progressed to, because if you're stage one, if you're having oral thrush for the first time in your life, you will probably be okay just changing your diet, taking probiotics, and you're probably good. Or other people who are stage one, they just do the cleanse and then they disappear, they feel better and they're gone. But if you're
Mhm.
somebody like us who both had gotten to like a stage four, we had so much work to do. It took me 2 years of just trial and error to figure out how to heal my gut. And thank goodness for the CCWS cleanse, because I could keep using that as a tool every time I accidentally reinfected myself, because my gut was so damaged that the candida would still keep escaping. And, it is a journey. And so, utilize these resources. They really help give you a roadmap to understanding your body better so that you can create a good strategy for yourself. And then that's also why, naturally we started to coach, right? Because both Aga and I have real direct experience with what this is like, the challenges, the successes, but also the mistakes that you can make, learning your gut, learning to figure out where your gut is so that you can finally stop reinfecting yourself. I mean, this is a really common thing on the candida journey, is accidentally getting symptoms again even after you've cleansed and gotten clear. It's actually still easy to accidentally re-trigger and reinfect if your gut is not fully healed. So,
Mhm. Yeah, I just wanted to bring this image up here. This is basically the leaky gut quiz, and leaky gut and candida, they go together. And so just take a moment and take a look at these symptoms or these health issues and see if you fall in any of these categories. You might have a ton of symptoms in the gut or a ton in the brain, or you might find that you have a few from each category, right? Maybe it's constipation and diarrhea, and then maybe there's some itchy skin, there's joint pain, brain fog, depression, right? All of these um, symptoms point to a leaky gut or a sick gut, something that is wrong with your digestive tract, with the intestinal lining and the pathogens living in your gut. And we'll get into a moment here of the difference between Candida yeast and fungal Candida. The first one is just a nuisance, and the other one is life threatening. And if you do not change something right now, it's going to continue getting worse. So, yeah, take a look at that. And then up here, I have a quick little graph of leaky gut. So this helps to give a good example and help you understand what this means. So your intestinal lining is one cell thin. It's microscopically thin. It's this thin, tiny layer that protects your blood, the inside of your body, with what's inside of your stomach. So that could be, your microbes, your yeast, your fungus, your undigested food particles, and essentially poop, right? It's this one tiny layer of cells. And normally you want them here like on the right. There's a healthy intestinal lining, there's tight junctions. So the cells only allow in nutrients into the bloodstream. It's a controlled gateway, essentially. But what happens due to stress, sugar in our diet, fungal overgrowth, the junctions become leaky, and then toxins can enter the blood. Undigested food particles enter your blood, and it's like the septic tank being leached into your body 24/7, causing immune reactions. If Candida fungus can get into your bloodstream, and it does when it goes fungal, it can live in your entire body. It can travel to different parts of your body. And that's when it comes systemic and it becomes a problem.
And this is something that I had to learn from literally I would eat something and it would re-trigger all of my symptoms. And that is exactly the particles escaping back out and then reinfecting my system. And the body goes into overload. It's having to fight all of this stuff. And this is why your immune issues start to happen and you have all these food allergies. Think about adult onset allergies. Just the fact that, I was diagnosed with allergies when I was 14 and told that that's a condition that I have. I lived with that belief all those years. And then after I did the Candida cleanse and healed my gut, I've not had allergies since. We do not have to live with these conditions as long as you know how to repair the gut and take care of these pathogens and utilize these tools, change your lifestyle, and then your body also actually gets stronger. So then you can eventually eat the things that you can't eat right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I also wanted to see what can happen when you cleanse Candida. So these are some of some of my favorite transformation stories, right? We have Sherry here on the left. She's got these blistering eczema-like rash, and her doctor was basically saying, there's nothing you can do about it. She tried everything. She actually knew about Candida, and she started the anti-Candida diet. And she would get results. Her symptoms would go away. But as soon as she ate sugar, as soon as she ate a little bit of fructose, bang, her symptoms would come back. And it's because she never got to the root of the problem. It was just those Band-Aid solutions. And as soon as she got on the cleanse, she started to heal her gut. This is her hand now today. Mm-hmm. Then we have Patty here. This is her before. Look at her.
I'm trying to stay quiet so it stays on that screen while you're talking and sharing. But yeah, that was me. I was 25 pounds heavier. I was so inflamed. I was in so much pain. That was my first Burning Man. And I thought, Burning Man is so physically difficult. I was like, how do people do this? I would be winded just riding my bike, across the playa. And at the time, it seemed like that was so long, like such a long distance and so intense. After I cleansed and healed my gut, I went back to Burning Man and I was like, this is a breeze. This is awesome. I could ride my bike all day, all night, everywhere, explore the whole thing. It was amazing. So when your body is taxed with all of constantly fighting something, constantly inflamed, bloated, carrying extra water weight because of all the inflammation it's trying to fight, everything is more difficult. I'm sure some of you feel that sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so when Candida is at the root of the problem, it can masquerade itself as so many other conditions. We talked about endometriosis, but here we have Hannah on the bottom left. She had cystic acne that was just stubborn and it wouldn't go away. Plus, she had like debilitating digestive distress, and doctors couldn't do anything. She was just over it, and she finally did the cleanse, and she transformed. You can see her here, and on our website, you can actually watch her full interview. She documented her before and during and after. It's incredible. And then on the right, we have Nancy, who was borderline diabetic. And she did this cleanse. She changed her diet. She took on a gut healing approach and she lost 50 pounds. She also had fibromyalgia, like pain, that disappeared. Um, yeah, you can just see here, like, I love this. I can't even recognize her.
And of course, there's Sami in the middle. I'll let you describe that so people can keep seeing the picture.
Yeah, and then Sami here in the middle, and she had a lot of body image issues. I remember in her story, she was sharing that at age 14 or 12 even, she was mistaken for her younger brother's mother. She looked so old and sick and obese, and her doctor and her mother didn't give her much hope. And she completely transformed her life, and now she's actually in our Facebook support group on there. She's always such a big ball of light and inspiration.
So what's interesting is that for even, some of these people, they didn't even know that Candida could be part of the problem. And what, this whole journey has taught me is that it is actually an issue that's plaguing probably 80 to 90% of the world. The gut experts of the world say that about 80 to 90% of people in the world today have some degree of leaky gut.
Mhm.
And that means that they're also dealing with Candida. But nobody's talking about it. Nobody's talking about it. Our doctors aren't, at least. Maybe nowadays with technology, we're starting to hear doctors talk about it, usually because they have had to go through what we're going through today and realizing that there is no real medical treatment for Candida that is effective, because they just keep redirecting people and kind of misdirecting them to think, oh, you have this condition now, you have this condition now. And so what happens, we get all of these clients who come to us with lists and lists of issues and sometimes even diagnosed conditions. And then by cleansing the Candida, removing the fungus and pathogens, healing the gut, they're telling us, wow, all of this is going away.
And then also Dr. McCullough speaks to this, that our modern medical practice, it's or modern medical system isn't really a health system. It's a disease management system, that's focused on maximizing profit rather than helping people maintain and regain their health. And if we were truly to eradicate Candida, which is at the root of so many conditions, 90% of chronic health conditions are reversible or preventable. And like you just said, 90% of people have leaky gut or some form of gut dysbiosis. So if we were to truly heal people at the root, at the core, then we wouldn't need like 90% of our medications. And big pharma is making trillions of dollars a year. So it's not really in their best interest to help you heal, unfortunately.
Mhm. And it is called the Food and Drug Administration, right? So we all kind of are starting to understand, like, the drugs, the pharmaceuticals are a big issue, and it's a big, big business, right? It's a huge business. But it's not just the drugs, it's also the food, which now I call a lot of it frankenfoods, right? All of this processed stuff. And it's not your fault. I realized, wow, we were kind of set up. We were set up for this. We were set up with tons of addictive processed foods with chemicals and toxins in it, and extremely addictive. Sugar is 8 times more addictive, than cocaine. Sugar is 8 times more addictive than cocaine. And it then all started to really make sense why I felt so out of control with my food and my diet. And it was like this landslide, that only after I got rid of the fungus, it was like my cravings actually changed. So being set up with all this processed food, all the sugary cereals, all of the fruit juices and the chocolate milk and the Doritos and Cheetos and all of those things and the Coca-Colas, it was like I had become a Candida being. I had become this like Candida sack. And literally I was so obsessed with food before that that's all I thought about all day was like, when's my next meal and when's my next snack? And it was always sabotaging me in a way of like, there were so many things that I kind of dreamt about doing in my life, but I was so stuck in my addictions that I was just living in this little bubble. And when I finally did this cleanse, it was like I was experiencing me for the first time without those addictions and without that automatic feed me kind of energy. That was like the Candida in my body was just constantly like, give me the candy, give me the carbs.
Yeah, and that's what most of our clients actually say. It's like the physical benefits that they get was like, great, my digestion improves, I have more energy, my rash went away. But like the most surprising and the most impactful thing about it is that I have a newfound sense of self, confidence, passion, purpose. It's like this veil gets lifted and you're like, there I am. That's who I am. And that is, you can't put a price on that.
And Aga was amazing. She first did this holistic health coaching certification. I actually only just did mine last year and just became certified. But this is truly a holistic process. Candida is at the root of so many gnarly symptoms that people are going through. But then there's also that other root of the issue, which is your diet and your lifestyle that are contributing and feeding into the Candida, which then causes everything to break down, right? So you can fight the Candida forever and cleanse and cleanse and cleanse and cleanse forever. But if you don't take care holistically of the diet, the lifestyle, as well as managing stress, right? Because if you're in stress, you have no immune function. So you have to also take care of your diet and your lifestyle, which your lifestyle has to include managing stress. And that's going to be what is the key to your long-lasting success, to be able to be and remain Candida free and not have to deal with these really annoying, but also sometimes really painful or even life-threatening symptoms ever again.
Yeah. So if you're watching and you're like, oh my God, this is me, like so much of my life is making sense right now. I put up that leaky gut symptoms quiz and you're like, I've ticked off like so many boxes, help. Patty and I are running an 8-week coaching program that guides you. It's a gut healing intensive where we guide you to cleanse Candida through the same protocol that we used, but also using food to heal your digestive system. And basically, it's like a life revamp. Like we were just saying that it's the lifestyle that we need to take a look at so it doesn't come back. How do we maintain and sustain thriving health long after we've cleansed the Candida? Because there are things we need to change about our lifestyle.
Yeah, and it's it's diet, it's managing stress, but then it's also very specifically how to heal your gut, what it takes to heal your gut. There are very specific steps that you have to take if your gut is damaged. And as mentioned, it took me 2 years of trial and error to finally heal my gut. And if I had only had support at the time, but it's just, this is something that's pretty new in the world of understanding. Not a lot of people understand this process. Even doctors or people who learn it hypothetically or theoretically sometimes don't really understand unless they've actually been through the process. It's hard for somebody to understand that, no, literally, if I eat a bite of rice right now, it's going to trigger everything to come up again. And then, but today I can eat rice again after I healed my gut. So, that's challenging for people to understand when they haven't been through it themselves.
Yeah, so definitely reach out to us. I believe below the video we have information about our coaching program, which starts on May 30th. And that's 8 weeks, includes weekly coaching calls with myself or Patty. We have meal plans included. We have guest speakers. So we have a naturopath come on, a theta healer. We include the package, the healing package, as well as CBD oil. This is something we started working with because we just found that it helps with the healing journey tremendously. So the links are below. And if you're like on the fence, you're not sure, and you want to talk to one of us, you can also schedule a consultation with us. We're so happy to speak with you one-on-one to see if this is actually a good fit for you.
Yeah, so to do that, just go ahead and send an email to support@candidacleanser.com and say that you want to schedule a consultation to chat about the coaching program, and they'll connect you with our links so that you can schedule with one of us.
Yeah, so we've been talking a lot about Candida, and like let's learn about what the heck is Candida. It's sometimes a buzzword or a hip word now between people who are getting a little health conscious. Even probiotics. Like, are you taking probiotics? Right? If you are, then you're ahead of the game. But it takes a lot more than probiotics to heal your gut. So a little background on your digestive system, your gut, which Hippocrates is, who's the father of modern day medicine. 2000 years ago, he was teaching that all disease begins in the gut. So if there's anything if your body's getting symptoms of disease, we have to look to the gut first. And in your digestive system lives this beautiful ecosystem. Let's call it like your gut garden. And in it, we have over 100 trillion bacteria. Some of them are good guys, some of them are bad guys. There's also different microbes, parasites, amoebas, yeasts. It's just like your back garden in your backyard. There's so many microbes in there. And so we have our good gut bacteria and yeast. And Candida yeast is actually, it serves a purpose when its numbers are controlled. It's the janitor in your digestive system. It eats excess sugars, toxins, heavy metals, dead and dying tissue. It helps to keep the space clean. And when it grows too much, your good gut bacteria will actually eat the yeast. And your good gut bacteria, they're your probiotics. So you've probably heard about the benefits of probiotics. They help you digest your food, assimilate nutrients. They make about 95% of your serotonin and your dopamine levels. So if you're feeling depression or just low mood, sometimes it's a deficiency in your probiotics. So these guys are like your construction workers. They're your personal assistants in your gut garden. But what has happened is because of our overuse of antibiotics, our culture is obsessed. You get a bit of a scratchy throat and you're like, I gotta go to the doctor. Here, have an antibiotic. Right? It's ridiculous. We don't need them. But also they're in our food. Anytime we're eating animal products, dairy or meat, if you're not eating organic, they're loaded. I forget what the exact percentage is, but like 80% of antibiotic use in the world goes towards livestock, and that's in your food. So we're chronically eating these antibiotics that are killing our good bacteria, and then we're eating way too much sugar that's allowing the yeast to proliferate. And then without that good gut bacteria, there's nothing to control the yeast. And what happens, pay attention, this is where Candida gets deadly. It has the ability to transform from this yeast, which if it overgrows, it can just feel like bloating, cramps, yeast infections. But when it turns into a fungus, it's dimorphic, it transforms and begins to grow this exoskeleton, a layer made of chitin. So what does a lobster, a cockroach, and a tick have in common with Candida? It's that exoskeleton. It's that hard stuff that Patty was saying earlier that she peeled out of her mouth.
Yeah.
And that, like, she couldn't even bend it, like, it creates that exoskeleton. And nothing in the human body can get at that exoskeleton. So it just begins to grow its empire in your body, and it grows these hyphae, these roots, piercing through your digestive tract, which is one cell thin, remember. It goes through there, and then it has access to your entire body. And in this stage, it is actually actively attacking you. It's releasing toxins, dozens of toxins that are attacking your liver. So your detox pathways are inhibited. You can't clean out toxins as much. So you feel chronically fatigued, heavy. These toxins build up in your body. So something like arthritis, fibromyalgia, pain becomes irregular because we just can't excrete the toxins. Also, it begins to attack your immune system, directly targeting your ability to fight back. And prolonged time without your liver function, without immune function, you start to, what happens? You get sicker and sicker and sicker. Your immunity goes down. All of a sudden, you're getting infections left, right, and center. Antibiotics aren't helping. You develop chronic disease, chronic conditions. And at that point, you need a serious intervention of getting at that chitin layer. And this is where antifungals don't really do the job. They just mask, they can attack and kind of like help the symptoms, but sooner or later, Candida comes back. Anti-Candida diets don't work because you'll just starve the fungus. And the fungus is smart. He'll just hibernate. If I call it a he, with Candida, you know, lives around the liver. We always have glycogen stores. We always have sugar in our liver, no matter if you're on a ketogenic diet or low paleo, there's always a form of sugar. So if it has access to your liver, you can, do whatever the anti-Candida diet, it's fine. Or what can also happen is now Candida has the ability to influence our behaviors and our stress response and our cravings. So it can actually hijack your mind. This used to happen to me. I'd like black out and I'd wake up and I'm like halfway through a chocolate bar and I'm like, what did I just do? Right? Or like, I'm just gonna have one cookie. And the next thing you know, you're like, who ate my cookies?
It's so true.
Or you'll just start to stress out for no reason. And you're like, oh, I'm so anxious. I'm so stressed out. I don't know why. I can't you can't control your stress response because it's making you create a stress response to jack your blood sugar, and it can just feed off of the sugar in your blood. It is so, so intelligent. And at this point, this is where something like the CCWS comes in. It's able to eradicate that chitin layer. Its exoskeleton begins to crumble, and your own immune system can finally get in there and get it out.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the things that I was peeling out of my cheeks, and I know even Aga, I remember you telling your story about the stuff that came out of your eyes in the past too. But it's when that fungus starts to grow and proliferate in your system, it creates these biofilms. That was a lot of what was actually happening, why I was in so much pain. It was literally something was taking over my body from inside out, and I felt like I was being eaten from inside out. And when you actually finally are able to attack this fungus and start to break down that chitin layer, your body is able to start to eliminate it out of your system. And myself and countless clients that we have worked with have literally seen chunks of Candida, gobs, and it actually manifests in multiple forms. Sometimes you see little white puffs, sometimes they're fleshy colored, sometimes they're sheets, they're films like that thing, sometimes they're stringy things, and it's really quite like mind-blowing what can come out of you, what you start to see come out of your body when you are able to actually break down that chitin layer and let your immune system finally start to eliminate the Candida and fungus out of your body.
I wanted to share this quick story. Who here is familiar with the cordyceps mushroom? This is it's also nicknamed the zombie ant mushroom fungus. And there's about 200 so different species, and they infect insects. And basically, when this ant is infected, all of a sudden, it starts acting weird. and funky and not like it's itself. The fungus begins to override the ant's ability to control its movements and makes it and moves uses this ant like a zombie and wants it to go into the colony so that it can shoot this like mushroom out of its head and release its spores so that it can infect other ants. And the other ants notice this. And what they'll do is actually they'll take this ant and take it away from the colony because it's been infected. And we look at that and we're like, whoa, that's some crazy sci-fi shit, right? Thank God humans don't have anything like that. For me, it's like Candida, right? It infects us and we begin to like go into zombie world because there's brain fog, we're confused, we're lethargic, we're not really passionate about, it's hard to find passion in our life to move forward about what makes us happy because we're just so busy like sustaining ourselves.
And I've literally watched myself out of control. I remember being at a wedding, and before the meal came out, I was like, don't eat any bread. Don't eat any bread. I'm not going to eat any bread. I'm not going to eat any bread. Why? Because my allergies were so bad, and I knew that it was going to make me feel like crap and make my allergies worse. But then what happens? They put the baguette on the plate in front of everybody, and I'm literally in my head like, don't eat that. Don't eat that bread. Don't eat that bread. Don't eat that bread. Don't eat that bread. Don't eat the bread. And then I'm like, like eating it. And I'm like, I forgive myself. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And I'm like, not able to control myself. So when you showed that picture, that's how I felt. It was like I was the Candida being controlled by the Candida entity in my body.
Yeah, it's a real thing. So if you feel like you're not yourself lately, your behavior is changing, your microbes affect your brain behavior. And this is actually coming out in the gut microbiota world. Like so much of our who we think we are as people is affected by our gut microbes. You can take acidophilus or bifido, which is a beneficial bacteria, and all of a sudden our mood changes, our sleep changes, our ability to manage stress and our perception of our reality changes. It's like how much are we and how much are we the gut microbes and the fungus living in our gut?
And actually we're more bacteria than we are human cells. So it starts to make a lot more sense, and why it's so important to repopulate, to remove those pathogenic bacteria so that you can reclaim yourself, reclaim your gut, and reclaim your willpower, right? So what's interesting is as a yoga teacher, you learn about the chakras, and the third chakra is right behind your belly button, essentially. It's like right in your gut, and that's the will center. And before I came on this journey and corrected my gut, I felt like I had no will. And then I started to realize, oh, wow, how do you control a whole civilization? Oh, well, you hijack their gut with addictive sugar in everything. And then people have no will. And they feel like they have no will. They're just zombies, right? We're Candida zombies.
Yeah, and so this is why we created this 8-week gut healing program, because it takes so much more than just popping back a pill and to heal Candida. It's lifestyle. And so to bring it back a little bit, remember we're talking about our gut microbiome and our gut lining, which is super thin, Candida turning into a fungus and penetrating and making like holes in our gut. When we're on the Candida cleanser and the Candida dies, that the Candida retracts from our gut lining, and then we still have that leaky gut lining left that we have to patch up. And that's what takes the time to heal. So when people ask, like, how long is it going to take for me to heal? Or like, how diligent are you going to be with your diet? Are you going to identify hidden food intolerances? Because having Candida and a leaky gut for a certain time and not digesting your food properly, many of us don't actually chew our food. How often are we like, with Candida and even parasites, our stomach acid gets stunted and we're actually not breaking down our food. So food gets through our gut lining into our bloodstream and we develop food intolerances. And if you continue eating the foods that you're allergic to, you're going to continue triggering leaky gut and an immune response. And hindering your healing process. So we developed the 8-week program not only to help you through the cleanse, because die-off can happen and often you can feel worse before you get better. And so there's certain protocols in place to help with that journey. Otherwise, it's like, what's happening? I'm dying. So when you have clients sometimes go into this panic mode, and it's like, don't worry, it's all part of the process, but also to heal the gut using proper food and nutrition. And this is where you can't follow a one size fits all diet. If you go online and you're like, can I eat, apples? I don't know. Can you eat apples? Ask yourself, ask your body. And there's certain, do an elimination diet. Remove those foods from your body, reintroduce them, and then see how your body reacts. That's the best way to figure out what kind of foods you should be eating. Your body will tell you. And this takes work to do on yourself. It can be tricky. It's hard to find that willpower. But when you've got a group cheering you on and guiding you, it's so much easier to do that type of healing work.
Mm-hmm. The program is designed to really teach you how to read all of your body signals and to help you avoid the most common mistakes that everybody makes. And just know that they're common mistakes. It's almost like everybody will make the same mistakes at some point on this journey if you don't know about the gut, if you don't know what steps you can take to actually learn what your food intolerances are. And that's how the program is designed, so that you can be empowered with these steps to know how to identify exactly what's triggering you. Because once you identify what specifically is triggering you, and it could be, for this person, it could be chocolate. For this person, it could be lentils, right? Lentils are supposed to be healthy, right? But actually, it could trigger somebody. So when you finally identify what's actually triggering you, you can take a break from that so that you can give the gut the break that it needs to heal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then in our coaching program, we do a holistic approach. So we don't just focus on the physical. We also address the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual, because all of these aspects make up ourselves. And when we've been sick long enough, often what ends up happening is we develop a victim mentality. And sometimes it's our mentality that will keep us stuck. Our unexpressed emotions, past experiences that we're holding on to. Maybe it's anger or sadness or grief. When we can't let go of an emotion, often it's in traditional Chinese medicine, it's that lower bowel intestine that we hold on to, and it can create digestive issues. So we go more into the other aspects of healing, emotional and subconscious programs that might have been instilled in our life when we were young from childhood. So we have a theta healer who comes on and comes to help reprogram our subconscious mind.
And all of those patterns and those thought processes and some of those emotional patterns are directly connected, one, to your gut and to your nervous system. And that is so crucial in your healing process to help your nervous system move into the parasympathetic state. So we introduce practices, and we even do them with the whole group during the program to help people learn how to relax the nervous system and how to break free from some of those emotional patterns that can kind of keep you in that fight or flight response. And when you're in that fight or flight response, your body is more focused on running away from the danger, the perceived danger, even if it's not there anymore, instead of focusing energy on healing. So it's really helpful to learn practices that actually help you move yourself out of that fight or flight and into the parasympathetic, so that you can move into the rest, digest, repair. And then what's so awesome is with this next program, we did one already, another 8-week program, and we learned a lot from it. And this one, we're actually going to be giving everybody a large bottle of the best CBD hemp product that we've ever found, because that also helps to put your body into the parasympathetic, helps you calm down your whole system and move into the healing state. And that's the state that you have to be in for the body to do all of its important repair process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and in our last program, it was such a great success, such a great group. We had one woman, well, the people that come to us, before I go into that, that come to us, there's different categories. There's some who are like, "What's Candida?" Okay, I'm so overwhelmed. Where do I start? And then we have the people who are like, "I know what Candida is. I've tried everything. Nothing works, but sure, I'll give this a try. This is the last thing." Or there's those people who are on their A game. They're all about self improvement and growth, and they're like, "Yeah, sure. If this is gonna improve my quality of life, I'm gonna give it a go." So we had all those three types of avatars in our group, and one woman who was a nutritionist, and she had been struggling with constipation for 30 years. 30 years. And I remember speaking to her in our consultation call, and she's like, "You know what? I don't know if this program is going to be worth it because like I know all this information." And I'm like, "Well, then why aren't you implementing it?" She's like, "I don't know." Right? And it's like, so even if you know all this information, we're holding you accountable to those changes. Knowing information and living information, applying it into your life, those are two different things, right? So when she finally applied what we taught, I believe it was in her second week, 30 years of constipation, gone, just like that.
I mean, I can't say how much, how important it is to create the time, right, to focus on your self-care. And that's exactly what the program does, is it helps you to every single week get together and also know that you're not alone, because there's other people going through similar things that you are, and have cheerleaders and coaches who also personally directly understand what you're going through, to create that space to focus on yourself. And that sometimes makes all the difference for some people.
hmm Yeah, and then another story was Annie. She had this subdermal cyst that she had for like 8 years, and didn't know what it was. She had tried everything. She was seeing a dermatologist, and then week 3. So as soon as she started the cleanse, as soon as she started the dietary changes, it started to move and change and erupt. And finally, at week 3, it just popped and disappeared.
I'm sure that was a very rewarding moment. I remember she said her dermatologist helped her squeeze it out. And before, she was going to have to cut it out. So
hmm
she avoided that small surgery because her body actually was able to soften it up. It got broken down, that chitin layer got broken down, and then the immune system was able to help soften it up, and it could be squeezed out like a pimple.
Yeah, and so a lot of these issues that the medical system has these weird, strange ways of dealing with, sometimes they can just disappear. And for example, there's this other woman. She had this like weird lump in her throat, and she was on stomach acid blockers. And she said it was kind of like her voice was being changed by the lump and the rasp. And again, 2-3 weeks into the program, the lump disappeared. She stopped using her acid blockers, and she was also a diabetic, a type 1 diabetic, and she started using less insulin. Her blood sugar started to stabilize, and she was a little apprehensive at starting because we do encourage a low carb, like no sugar whatsoever kind of diet. And lo and behold, even with that kind of diet, her own body was able to balance out her blood sugar, especially if you've got Candida, that's like messing with your metabolism, messing with your endocrine system. Once that's out, your body doesn't have to compensate for the infection, and homeostasis can be achieved.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah, so if you're interested, we start May 30th. And again, email us at the email address below, support@candidacleanser.com, and our team will set you up with either a calendar link to our personal calendars. You can just put yourself in whenever works for you, or you can head straight to the order page, which is below, and get started right away.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And all of these stories that Aga just shared, one thing, another reason why the program is so valuable is like what we mentioned before. What it really did was it helped people to avoid making mistakes on their journey and setting themselves back. To be able to be in a forward moving process and be able to, anytime you need to, have a coach that you can reach out to via email and or in the Facebook group and say, hey, this came up. What do you suggest to deal with that? And immediately have a response from very experienced people, so you don't have to have just guesswork. You're not just guessing, what can I do for this? You actually have really, really solid, effective advice that's targeted towards that. There's pretty much at this point, over the last 7 years, nothing that Aga and I have not seen in this community. We've seen it like the whole spectrum of, from the mildest situations to some of the worst situations I've ever heard, and I couldn't even believe. Sometimes some of the recovery stories that come back to us on this journey. So, usually when people have a question of, this just came up, is it die-off, is it this, is it that? There's nothing we haven't seen, and we know exactly what supplements to recommend, what steps to recommend, things that can help you take down inflammation if you trigger something by accident. Also, the common foods to avoid. There's a lot of foods, like I mentioned earlier, lentils. I didn't know that lentils could actually be irritating on a damaged gut, but I had to learn that myself by eating it and having my whole body start to itch and having an allergic reaction, right, to realize that. So it really is a roadmap for you so that you can get the best results on a kind of on a quantum level. And then at the end of the 45-day cleanse of the CCWS cleanse, that sometimes is when the healing really begins. So there's another thing that we improved about this program, which is continuous support even after the modules are over, after you're done going through the modules, which you'll have full access to forever. But then to even have continued support after that, because sometimes after the cleanse is over is when the gut healing really, really begins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the 8-week coaching program, that's 8 weeks of weekly live coaching calls or 2-hour calls with the group. Then you have your module that opens up and all your homework and your to-dos, and you have a full food and supplement guide. So your safe foods, as well as meal plans. So if you have no idea how to cook or put things together, we have that for you, so you don't have to worry about it. What else do we got? We got bone broth therapy. We lead you through the GAPS protocol. This one can be so confusing and overwhelming. So we created a GAPS guide, everything you need to know about the gut and psychology syndrome diet that Dr. Natasha Campbell, she created. She's actually, I believe, a Russian doctor. Help people heal their gut, and it was targeted for children with autism, but she noticed that people with psychological conditions also needed to repair their gut. So it's a whole protocol that we get into. What else do we got? We got the theta healer coming on, the natural path. So there's a lot in here. And then, like Patty said, as soon as the 8 weeks is done, you have life access to the calls. So, a few weeks down the line, you're like, hey, I have another question. I'm gonna hop on a call. So as long as there's programs running, you're welcome to the coaching calls.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? This was some information that really helped me on my journey, that I think gave me the ability to have patience with myself in my healing process, which was, I believe it was from Natasha McBride, the founder of the GAPS diet, where I read an article in the GAPS universe saying that if you look back in your whole life, go all the way back, talk to your parents if you can, ask them about your health history when you were a child, and for every year that you have had symptoms of any of that list that Aga showed you, any of the symptoms in the 5 stages of Candida, for every single year that you've had symptoms, you will need a month of pretty dedicated healing, dedicated diet, lifestyle changes to repair the gut. And when I heard that, and I looked at my life and I looked back to the fact that I was not breastfed, that I started also similar to Aga having infections and antibiotics, symptoms of IBS, chronic allergies, migraines, all of those things, even starting as a young girl. I realized at the time that I started this journey, I was 33 when I started this journey, and I'm 40 now. But when I was 33, looking back, that was 33 months. I realized I was going to be working on this for potentially 33 months. And the more dedicated you are to that journey and that experience, the faster your body will heal. There are tools, I think even that information is slightly outdated. We have even more information today. There's the endocannabinoid system is starting to be understood more. I think that speeds up the process. There's kind of some biohacks like intermittent fasting or fasting that can also speed up your journey, specific supplements to take. So if you're not sure how long this is going to take for you, look at your life and look at all the years that you have exhibited some symptoms. And just because you maybe had symptoms when you were 5 and maybe you don't have those particular symptoms anymore today, your gut was probably breached when you were 5. And then there was an infection, a Candida infection. And so what happens is when you start to actually cleanse and remove that, it's going to reveal to you where your gut is actually still weak. And that started when you were 5. So you will still have to be on that journey of repairing the damage that happened all those years ago. And this guideline is, I would say it's a loose guideline, but it'll give you an approximate estimate of how long it might take you to heal your gut. And that's another reason why having a program, having the continuous access to coaching is going to be so valuable for people who are in stage 3, stage 4, who have been dealing with this for 5, 10, 15, maybe 20, maybe 40, maybe 50 years, actually. We've had clients who have had literally 50-year-long chronic yeast and fungal infection that they did not eradicate until they found our community. So, if you're one of those people and you think this might take me some time, the group coaching program is such a tremendous value because you won't find anything else like this where you could get coaching for indefinitely on your journey like that from such experienced coaches and other people in community holding you as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so it takes time, it takes work. And then on the bright side, I wanted to share the story of Amy. She had 68 symptoms of dis-ease or illness in her body, and in just 2 short months, she eliminated a laundry list of them, of 68. So digestive issues, she had acid reflux, bloating, gas, nausea, diarrhea, constipation, stomach cramps, indigestion, gone. She had depression, tinnitus, endometriosis, recurring UTIs, bladder infections, hay fever, sinusitis, asthma, all of it gone. And this for her, it didn't take years, it didn't take 6 months, it took 2.
It
And
took 2 months, but then she had to continue healing her gut for sure.
And then she
Mhm.
explains how she started to realize, like, whoa, these are reversible. What else don't I know about health? My doctors weren't telling me how to take care of myself. I'm going to start researching. And then she went and got blood analysis, food allergy tests, and then she began to put the pieces together that her remaining, I think she had 4 remaining symptoms left that were just not going away. They were actually related to her food intolerances and leaky gut. And then healing her gut, that's when those symptoms started to get better. So it goes to show that Candida and leaky gut, they're kind of like what came first, the chicken or the egg, right? And when you heal leaky gut, you need to do Candida. And when you do Candida, you got to do leaky gut. You can't do one or the other. Plus, we have to come back to our gut garden, repopulate our good gut bacteria. Because again, you will not heal leaky gut if you do not proliferate with healthy gut bacteria. So how do you do that? What's the best way to do that? Are you currently eating fermented foods? Are you taking probiotics? Are you taking antibiotics? Are you drinking chlorinated water? Are you drinking fluorinated water? There's so much to consider about our lifestyle and what we come to contact every single day that is affecting our microbiome, our gut garden. And if you look at a garden and say one day it's springtime, the weeds are blooming, and you're like, okay, time to weed my garden. I'm going to plant some nice flowers. There, I'm all set for the rest of my life. This garden is going to be great. No, 2, 3 months down the line where you neglect your garden, there's going to be aphids. The weeds are going to come back. Maybe the poison ivy comes in and just like strangles one of your plants, right? It's alive. So we have to tend to it every single day. And so this program creates that self-care practice that tends to your inner garden, so you have that strong foundation to create thriving health that lasts you, that you can sustain and maintain. It's not another fad diet or this 20-hour, 24-day rose cleanse or whatnot. It's a lifestyle change. So if you're ready, if you're dedicated, if throughout this whole program you've been presentation, you've been like, yes, aha, I get it. I'm so ready. I'm pumped. Message us. Set up a consultation. I would love to have a chat with you to see if this program is for you.
Yay. I love the garden metaphor. I think it's such a perfect metaphor for this journey. It's so true. It is a lifestyle change, and things change. Your body will change. I thought there was a time a few years ago, I thought I would never be able to eat popcorn again. And I love popcorn. I love buttered popcorn. It's one of my favorite treats and snacks. And back in 2013 through 2015, when I was healing my gut, I could not eat even a little bit of it. It would burn. The starch is essentially like an acid on your gut. If your gut is damaged and it's got those holes in it, that kind of starch is just horrible for your gut lining. It will trigger everything. It would trigger everything for me. But by tending that garden, by restoring my gut, by eliminating the Candida, changing my lifestyle for healing the gut, I was able to take my really awfully poor, slow burning compost system that was creating a literal swamp in my body and turn it into a robust composting system. And when you turn your body into a more robust composting system, then for me, it means I can go to the movies and enjoy some buttered popcorn today without worrying about suddenly bloating and gaining 5 pounds, or without breaking out immediately. So it's possible for things to change. The work is necessary. Sometimes you have to eliminate and go through that healing process. But if you do, and you help your body get to that fast burning compost situation, you're going to be able to enjoy some things again, just like I'm able to today.
Yeah, and some people feel a little bit overwhelmed. They're like, wait, I have to change my lifestyle? I didn't sign up for this. I just want to be healthy and feel better. It's like, well, bit of a wake-up call. How you've been living lately, either your diet or your lifestyle, lack of self-care, or maybe just the thoughts going on in your head, or the way you've suppressed your emotions. Something's not working for you. And if you don't fix it now, it's going to get worse down the line. So we have wrapping our head around with like, okay, I can create little changes. Okay, let's start with little changes. And then you'll notice that at the end of this, you'll be a completely different person, that you don't even want to go back to who you were before. I even eat some of the foods that I used to really love, and it's like, oh, this tastes like cardboard. Why? I used to like this? This is so weird. Sugar is just like, oh my God, that's way too sweet. That hurts my face. I don't want that. Right? And, it's yeah, and it's like we with our current reality and consciousness, we can't really understand what it's like to be different. But when we are, it's that new lifestyle. It's like riding a bike. It's so easy. And why would we stop when we feel so amazing and we have this like energizer bunny energy, this inexhaustible fuel that radiates from within? So you don't have to reach for the Red Bulls or the chocolate and the coffee to soothe yourself, because you're happy, you're complete, you're content.
Mhm. And I would bet that if you're watching this video that you've gotten to that point where you're ready for a change. It's like, I've had enough. I remember I got to that point where it was like, this is it. This is it. I either have to choose myself and choose my health and choose to live and actually choose health, or I might not last very long here on this planet anymore. And, it's a very specific kind of um, client that comes and finds these videos. It's because you've been struggling. It's because you're going through things, and other doctors or practitioners or um, products, all the over-the-counter yeast products, Candida products, they don't work at some point for a lot of people who find us. And so if you're watching, then I can imagine what you're going through, because I've been there. And just know that there is a way, there is a system, and that's exactly what we've created, is a really easy to follow system that with guidance too, right? With direct support, so that you can learn your body and learn how to repair your body.
So I'm just realizing here that there was a few people on the chat, but while we're talking, it didn't come up on my chat feed. So I can't quite see what's happening, unfortunately. So sorry, guys. Sorry you didn't get to your comments. It's not showing up for me. Ah, okay. So there we go. We got hairy is my style. What should you work on first, Candida or SIBO? Mm. So I worked on Candida first, and I didn't even realize I had SIBO, but I did the SIBO cleanse that Candida cleanser released, and I had die off of. And so I was like, wow, there was bacteria living in my small intestine. I had no idea. And I think um, I would go with Candida first, because it's more simple, it's easier. SIBO, you have to take on quite a different approach. And same with Candida. This is a big question to unpack, because there's such different treatments. Candida can be at the core of like so many debilitating conditions, whereas SIBO, they're a bit more isolated. But SIBO, you can't take probiotics while you're on it. It can just continue inoculating your small intestine. So if you're taking the Candida cleanser, be aware of what the protocol for SIBO is, and see if you can cleanse Candida but still be addressing SIBO.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, personally, I would also address the Candida first, because the fungus has the ability to burrow into your soft tissue, to get into your brain, to get into your joints, to get into other organs in your body. So it's actually a lot more damaging, and also it that alters your immune function, right? So if you have fungus starting to creep into all these different parts of your body, it's actually exhausting your body and your own immune system from functioning properly. So my recommendation would be to tackle the Candida first, and that's going to help your immune function. And then just know that most people have a lot of different co-infections going on. If you have Candida and it has gone into the fungal form, if you're taking the quiz and you're testing at stage 2, lots of symptoms in stage 2, and you've seen lots of symptoms from stage 1 before in your life, stage 2, and then especially going into stage 3 and stage 4, even if you have never been tested for SIBO, you probably have co-infections going on. That's the nature of fungal Candida. Once there's biofilms growing in your body, it can actually create these anaerobic environments in your gut and in your body with all those biofilms, which becomes a perfect petri dish for all these other infections to happen. So the SIBO cleanse, although we call it a SIBO cleanse, even if you don't have SIBO, but you suspect you have co-infections going on, what the SIBO cleanse really is a natural antibiotic protocol. It's an herbal antibiotic protocol. So if you have any other infections going on, low-grade infections going on in your system, it's going to help address as address those infections as a natural antibiotic protocol.
Mhm. Yeah, thank you. And so the next question we have here is just got the cleanser. What food should I eat with the cleanse? So if you got the Candida cleanser, check your promotions or spam folder. You get a full outline of what to eat and what not to eat. But generally, you want to go with something like a ketogenic autoimmune style diet where it's focusing mainly on healthy fats, moderate proteins, organic and grass fed, and non-starchy vegetables and berries. So fruits overall, too much sugar. Even root vegetables for the beginning have too much sugar. Any kind of grain or starch or legume, put that just on the back burner for a while and really just stick to these above ground vegetations, healthy fats and proteins.
And bone broth, bone broth, bone broth, or start with meat stock if you're a little histamine kind of reactive. Start with meat stock and then work up to bone broth. Add extra collagen if you can, just like what Aga was mentioning about the Candida poking holes in your gut. As you're clearing that out, you're going to expose where all the holes are. You want to seal, heal, and repopulate your gut, right? So that meat stock and bone broth and all that collagen is the perfect food and perfect building blocks to help to seal and heal your gut lining. As you're cleansing, as you're removing the Candida, keep sealing, healing, and then repopulating with good bacteria.
Mhm. So, Devont Brown, does Candida cause nerve pain in buttocks and legs? So, I found that it causes pain. I specifically nerve pain in the buttocks and thighs. Maybe that's where it's manifesting for you. It's unclear. I can't really say yes or no, but definitely joint pain, muscle aches and pains are definitely a thing.
Yeah, and you have to think about it like this. It's an inflammatory process, and it could be attacking different parts of your system. It could be your body is trying to detox and your lymphatic system runs through all of your joints, your hips, the buttocks, so if you look up a diagram of the lymphatic system, it runs through all your joints and it's like running along your circulatory system. So there could be a lot of different things going on, but if you're having nerve pain and you're having any kind of pain, there are inflammatory processes going on, and that means it could be Candida contributing to that, but it can also be your diet is contributing to that, and things reacting on your gut, believe it or not, can trigger inflammation throughout any part of your body. Something inflaming your gut can make your head hurt. It can even make your feet hurt, literally, right? So it all begins in the gut. I would just look at how can you start to take care of these things. I wouldn't be surprised if you started to cleanse Candida and heal your gut, that you also take care of whatever pain you're going through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one of the toxins that Candida releases is called acetaldehyde. And this essentially, your body has a really hard time detoxing. It's the same compound that alcohol breaks down into, and it's 100 times more toxic than alcohol. And it's the reason that you get that hangover feeling, and you have joint pain and muscle aches. Nausea, you're kind of like sensitive to the light. That's the acetaldehyde building up. And Candida is constantly around the clock, fungal Candida, releasing it into your system. So that pain could also be coming from acetaldehyde. And a simple thing that helps to help you break that down is a nutrient called molybdenum. It helps to turn acetaldehyde into a beneficial enzyme in the body and relieve those symptoms. Mhm. So the next question, but when people have fourth stage Candida, their immune system is very weak. How can the body fight the Candida? What can be done to strengthen the immune system during the cure?
So when I did my very first Candida cleanser, I had almost no immune system left. And I was literally just this complete mess. And it was very quick, actually, that I started to notice my body started to do things. I did have a little bit of flu-like symptoms, but it was almost like I could feel the Candida die-off starting to happen all throughout my body, all over my skin, in my muscles, in my tissue. And my immune function actually got stronger just by starting to kill the Candida. However, if you are concerned about your immune function, this is where the CBD hemp oil that we now recommend is hugely beneficial, because if your immune function has been impaired by essentially being so exhausted from fighting constantly, being at war constantly, you can really boost and upregulate your immune function and your detox function with CBD oil, especially when you can actually get it into your body. So we do have a very specific CBD oil that we recommend that is sonicated nanoliposomal delivery, which means it's second best to an injection, right? You don't have to break it down in your digestion, which actually destroys like 90% of what you just paid for. And instead you're absorbing it all in your mouth. And we also do free consultations for the CBD hemp oil. So again, just send an email to support@candidacleanser.com and say, I'd like to set up a consultation about the CBD oil, and they'll send you a link to schedule. But that actually, when I started to take the hemp oil, even though I'd done so much cleansing, I no longer had symptoms of Candida. I do my maintenance cleanse, and I've managed to stay Candida free for several years now. When I started the hemp oil, it actually helped my body and my immune function and my detox function to get rid of all the stuff that my body had just still hadn't been able to get rid of. Like, I released all this mucus, the stiffness in my neck and spine went away. I started to be less reactive to foods. I could start being a little more flexible in my diet again, even more so than where I was. So a lot of people who have struggled with Candida for a long time have poorly functioning immune systems, and also sometimes poorly functioning detox systems. So that sonicated liposomal hemp CBD oil will help upregulate your immune system and help upregulate your detox system. But you could actually experience some healing symptoms, some Herxheimer, just from the CBD oil itself, just so you know.
The next question is more of a comment, which I think is fun. The program is $2,000. This has to be a joke. No, it's not a joke. This is a gut healing intensive group coaching program. We are coaching you like one-on-one, well, in a group setting, to transform your life. If you hire a personal coach, coaches start at $6,000 to $10,000 a month if you want one-on-one. If you want my one-on-one attention for a month, I'm $2,500 a month. So it's what we pay these days. But when you think about how much you've spent on medication, I know people who spent thousands of dollars on different herbs and supplements. I have, gosh, like at one point when I opened up my cabinet, it was just like supplements, right? Like $200 supplement here, $100 supplement here, and like none of it was doing anything. It was giving me a little bit of energy, but not really getting to the core of the issue. And this is not just a presentation of information. Like if you sign up for a gut summit, that's $300, and you have 5 videos from doctors. This is us actually helping you integrate and implement these lifestyle changes that will last. This is an investment into yourself. It's for you. And when you think about any kind of membership you have at the gym, that's $300 to $500 a month. This is $1,000 a month for 2 months. And then after that, you have, for the rest of your life, as long as these programs are going, you have weekly coaching with us. Plus, we have a meeting with a naturopath, a theta healer, meal plan. If you want to just get meal plans from a nutritionist, that's about $500 a month. So when you really wrap your head around this, our past clients said that, this information was invaluable. We weren't charging enough, they said.
Yeah, other programs similar to this are anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 out there right now. and they end. This one, you continue to get support even after the 8 weeks is over. You can still join the live calls. So this is actually really high value offer.
Yeah. And so that includes the Candida cleanse that we have. So that's $167. And then the liposomal nano oil, I believe it's $100 or
It's 108
108.
retail.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So just in products alone, you get about 300 or so dollars of product alone. So yeah, we do make sure that we put in a lot of value. It's our time going in this as well. Being with you, you have 24-hour, 24/7 email access to us privately. We are there for you. So if anything happens, you have access to us. We're in that Facebook support group. So really wanting to over deliver and make sure that you succeed. And if that's a lot of money for you right now, we do payment plans. So just know that this you are worth investing in. Uh, yeah, and then that's a good hustle. Then again, your naturopath will charge you the same. Yeah, so and we have the naturopath visits can be anywhere. First of all, it's $200 just for initial consultation, and then from there, they're anywhere from $200 to $500. I was on the Facebook support group page, and someone in the States, I don't know where they were, that saying that their naturopath was charging $500, and that's not including the herbal supplements that they'll recommend, or the vitamins and the nutrients. And hooking yourself up to an IV is $150 a session for 40 minutes. So things are pricey these days, and especially when it comes to health. And trust me, I've been there where I was broke, having no money because I had my health was taking up so much of my time, my money, and energy. But it's when you find something that finally works, it's worth it.
And some naturopaths don't even have a clue how to handle fungal infection.
Mhm.
And so, the naturopath that we have as a guest, she actually has done the Candida cleanse, and she's healed herself naturally from cancer 3 times in her 70 years of life. So, just because you go to a naturopath doesn't mean they know either how to deal with fungal infection.
Mhm. Mhm. Someone is saying, can parasites be transmitted through fecal matter or saliva spores? Um, yeah, CCWS is good because it goes through the body, but one course is not enough. It must come after a large parasite cleanse. Immune boosting, it works, but I'd recommend at least 3 back to back. So, Mr. M. Knight, yeah, depending on what stage of Candida you're in, stage 1 or 2, usually 1 bottle is good enough. 1 bottle is 45 days of the protocol. And again, it really depends on you, your gut microbiome, your immune system, your detox pathways. And that's why in this coaching program, we're there because we guide each and every single person individually, because you cannot compare yourself to the person next to you. And then someone in a stage 3 or stage 4 or stage 5, they'll definitely need at least 2 bottles. Some do back to back. And it's excellent to actually space those bottles apart with a parasite cleanse. Because get this, your parasites have candida. It's called hyperparasitism, and your parasites can then reinfect you with candida if you don't have a strong immune system. So there's many different ways of going about healing your gut, and protocols, all dependent on you and your specific conditions, your specific gut. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Mr. Knight.
Mhm. And parasites are actually a lot more common than people realize. Sometimes we might have a misconception that they're only in third world countries, but actually first world countries have bigger parasite problems than third world countries. And you can pick up parasite eggs I read about liver flukes. You can pick up liver flukes from an airplane seat, from a toilet, from a restaurant. Sorry to break that, sorry to break it to you, but it's true. It's a lot more common than you might think.
Hmm. Hmm. Thanks, Mr. Knight. He says, I love you, ladies.
Aw.
Yeah, and parasites, people think, like back to that garden tending thing. Like, oh yeah, I did a parasite cleanse like 4 years ago. I'm fine. And you're like, okay. You're like, what was it? Oh yeah, it was like a week of taking a herb. I'm like, that does no. Parasites are scavengers. They're so intelligent, and your intestines, the villi and the microvilli. Imagine like the surface of a shag rug. Like there's so much surface area. Those guys can hide, burrow. Hookworms actually have like teeth, and they'll hook into your intestines. So if you don't zap them or paralyze them, and you take some sort of parasite cleanse, they'll just hold on. And then their eggs. So some herbs will kill the parasite, but won't kill the eggs or the cysts. And then, a few weeks down the line, the eggs hatch, and then you've got parasites again. So those guys they're a headache to get rid of, right? And so again, that's another type of cleanse that I do annually, because got to tend to your garden, right?
Mm-hmm. I remember somebody coming into the group one day and sharing that, there was another time where people would do parasite cleansing on a regular basis. They would deworm themselves on a regular basis. And we've just been disconnected from this type of thought process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got my mother into gut health a few years ago, and she did the Candida cleanser. She started on not MSM, but what's that? MMM.
Oh, MMS?
MMS, yeah, not MSM, MMS, which is another kind of controversial substance, but super safe. And she started on MMS and doing enemas and all these things. And 1 year later of being super strict and doing like daily MMS enemas, huge worms started coming out in bundles, massive, like some this long. There's just buckets of worms. And she had photos to send, and I was like, oh my God.
Whoa.
Right. And there's someone who had done herbal parasite cleanses, and if they had stopped, it would have been like, oh yeah, I'm parasite free, I'm done. But it takes diligent work for some of these guys to come out.
Just think about your house. It's like, what would happen if you just cleaned your house once and then you never cleaned it again? It would start to get pretty gnarly. You got to kind of treat your body the same way, right? It's a house too, right? So it's something that we will, if you want to stay free and healthy and liberated in your body, it's something to maintain for the rest of your life. Tend that garden for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so we came together to make this 8-week coaching program, because like I said, we came on as health coaches for the Candida cleanser and started, writing blogs and being on the community and sharing all these different protocols to help. Like you had mentioned here, like, yeah, if you have don't have a strong immune system, what do you do? Well, implement these herbs, or do a coffee enema, or do this for your lymphatic system. There's so many other protocols that we can add to the cleanse. And we found that we just kept repeating ourselves. It became overwhelming to catch up with everybody, to get with everybody, to follow with everyone, because their journeys were so different. And this information is so life transformative, and everybody needs to know this. It should be taught like in elementary or in high school. There should be like gut health month where you learn how to take care of your body. We're born into this beautiful vessel, but nobody teaches us how to use it, how to clean it, right? Even the governing bodies who are telling us what to eat used to be the food pyramid. It was totally wrong. I remember there was a podcast with a woman who designed the food pyramid. She's like, I did not design it like that. It was supposed to be flipped. Grains were supposed to be like this much, but what they did was big agro didn't like that, because then it would destroy the agriculture, the corn and the soy subsidies. So they flipped it. Guess what happened? Diabetes, high cholesterol, heart disease, all these things just started imploding. So we were taught from day one incorrect information of how to eat. Nobody's teaching us how to move. We're hiring people, personal trainers, to teach us how to move our body, because we forgot, because we're on the computer or like working our 9-to-5 jobs. It's like, no, we need to remember how to live, how to tend to this temple. And if we don't, we're going to deteriorate. So this is why we put this 8-week program together, because it's like the basis, it's the foundation of how to live a healthy, thriving life, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, and to sustain that for forever. And if a problem does arise, you'll have the tools, you'll be equipped with knowing what to do.
And really quick, I just want to add to that, not to mention, besides the food pyramid being totally upside down, but the glyphosate that's in all of these grains and the antibiotics, right? Aga mentioned the antibiotics before, that's in the conventional meats. These things are destroying the gut. They're absolutely destroying the gut. So we're in a new place today where we have to be diligent and vigilant. Like mixing those two words. We have to be vigilant because it's chemical warfare out there. And so there's a lot of things kind of working against us out there that are making it harder for people to sustain a good health and a healthy gut. So it's more important than ever to learn how to keep a healthy gut or how to repair a damaged one.
Mhm, mhm. So I think it's time to wrap things up. We've been on here for, whoa, an hour and a half. We always get so carried away and like passionate when we get together. Yeah. So if you are at all intrigued and you want to speak to one of us before you consider or you want to sign up, please email us at support@candidacleanser.com and we'll send you our private calendar link. We'd love to set up a time to chat with you.
Yes, so thank you, everybody. And also remember, join our Facebook group. That Facebook group, Aga and I are in there every day. It is now over 17,000 people. So it's a lot more people, but there's a wonderful community. This is another reason why we created the coaching program, so that we can give people really focused attention, specifically where we get to know people much better. We understand where you are on your journey in the coaching program very clearly. But if otherwise, join that Facebook group. You can always tag us in there and ask questions in there and have a whole community of people as well to support you.
And I just put the link in the chat for you guys to check out for the support group.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for watching.
And I look forward to seeing some of you in the program and in the Facebook group. So thanks so much for joining. Till next time.
Thank you. Happy healing.